Welcome back to Upfront. Wisconsin has a new candidate in the race for Senate next year. Milwaukee Bucks executive Alex Lasry announced his bid last week. Lasry, a Democrat, is a New York native and the son of Bucks co-owner Mark Lasry, a hedge fund billionaire. Lasry helped bring the Democratic National Convention to Milwaukee and worked in the Obama White House. If he gets through the primary, he would challenge Republican Senator Ron Johnson, who has not said whether he's running again. Alex Lasry joining us now on Upfront. So, Alex, thank you for being on the show. And, you know, I've heard you refer to Senator Ron Johnson as someone who hasn't been representing the people of Wisconsin, yet you're from New York. You have a really privileged lifestyle. How do you represent the everyday Wisconsinite?
Well, I think if you look at what we've actually been able to accomplish, and you know, what I'm talking about is I think we need change in Washington. I think we need someone who's not just talking about issues, but who's actually getting results on them. And, you know, we're not just talking about a $15 minimum wage. We're actually paying it. We're showing that you can actually grow a business with paying a $15 minimum wage. We're not just talking about good union jobs. We've created thousands of them. And we're not just talking about racial and social justice. We've been on the front lines with things like the Equity League and our Bucks Vote Initiative. And when it came to an event like the DNC, something that no one thought we'd be able to get, I was able to help lead a team and bring the convention here. And so what I think we really need in Washington and what the people of Wisconsin deserve is someone with a fresh perspective and a new way of thinking, and someone who's going to be able to deliver results on their behalf. You know, unfortunately, Ron Johnson over the last 10 years hasn't done anything other than peddle in conspiracy theory and lies. And I think we need something different, and I think the people of Wisconsin deserve something different.
Well, I'm sure you realize this is going to be probably one of the most watched Senate races really across the country, and you do have a number of endorsements I saw in your video, including Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, the Common Council President Cavalier Johnson, but with that, you're also getting a lot of early attacks. One of those came from former Governor Walker, who tweeted, "Just what Wisconsin needs, the son of a New York billionaire who cut the line to get his COVID-19 shot before senior citizens." When I saw you tweeted that out, that you got the vaccine, one of the first responses was pretty much that. Was that the reaction you were expecting, or what did you think when you put that out there?
Well, look, I think when you see things like what, you know, former Governor Walker wrote or what Ron Johnson put out, you know, these are the negative politics and the negative attacks and personal slander that I think people are really just tired of.
But other people were saying that too. Other people were saying that on Twitter too, because I saw all the responses who aren't politicians. They were upset about it, that you got it over someone in their family who's elderly or who has a pre-existing condition.
Yeah, well, you know, unfortunately with this, you know, with this vaccine, you've only got 6 hours to put a shot in the arm. And, you know, I think, you know, the Home did a great job of vaccinating, you know, all the people that they could and making sure that, you know, they called their backup lists and their lists to make sure that they were able to, you know, get all those who could get vaccinated. But unfortunately, you know, they still had leftover vials, and my wife got a call, and I made a decision in the moment to protect my wife and my daughter and make sure no shots went to waste. What I think, though, this campaign is mostly going to be about is not that, but it's going to be about how are we raising wages and creating investment in the state. And I think that's what people are talking about. You know, when I've talked to Barron County Dems, you know, the other day or in Rusk County, no one's talking about that. What they're talking about is how are we going to raise wages and bring jobs back to the state.
Your only declared Democratic opponent so far, Tom Nelson, tweeted, "I don't think anyone should buy a Senate seat. I challenge Alex or any candidate, including Johnson, to not invest their own money or their families in their campaign." Wisconsin looks forward to his response. So how much personal money do you plan to put into this?
Look, as I've said, I'm not going to self-fund this race. I will invest. But the most important thing that we're going to be doing is building a grassroots campaign. The campaigns that I've seen up close that are the most successful are the ones where you're building from the ground up, you know, with people who are either giving, you know, $1, $5, $10, or their time. And that's what we plan on doing. I'm not going to be taking any corporate PAC money. But what we also need to make sure that we're doing is having the resources to compete. You know, this is going to be, you know, as you said, one of the most closely watched Senate races in the country. And it's probably going to become one of the most expensive ones. And so, you know, I want to make sure that we're not outgunned, that we're able to compete and win back this seat, because the stakes are too high to not make sure that we have the resources to compete in this race.
Do you have a number that you would say, okay, I pledge to not go over this of my personal money?
No, look, what I want to do is build a great grassroots campaign from the bottom up. I mean, we're going to make sure that we're bringing people from all across this state and everyone who wants to make sure that we bring change to Washington be a part of this movement.
All right, Alex Lasry, we'll see how this race shapes up. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
The spring race for state superintendent of schools is set. 2 candidates emerged from Tuesday's primary: former Brown Deer Superintendent Deborah Kerr and Pecatonica Area School Superintendent Jill Underly. The election is April 6th. Both will be guests right here on Upfront next week. Our editorial partner, WisPolitics, has coverage of both the DPI and Senate races. You can check that out on the election blog at wispolitics.com. Coming up next, the pandemic and performance venues. Most are still closed. Can they be saved?